What's up, everybody? Lori Branch back again with Vintage House. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for Angie Tee. She is going to let us in on all her ambassador secrets. So if you're a fan of Angie Tee, you've seen her, you've heard her, but you haven't heard the whole story. So listen up. She's up next. Peace.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Vintage House, the best house show in town. We are so excited today to have Angie Tee in the house. Angie, thanks for.
Hi.
Angie's done so much in this community as a promoter, as an ambassador for the chosen few. You see her face in a lot of places, but we don't hear Angie's story. So I thought it would be really cool to just talk to Angie Tee one-on-one and get the scoop. Where is she from? What's she doing? Why is she doing this work? So thanks for tuning in. And remember to stay tuned after the show because we'll be switching to Twitch to feature another young house music DJ up and coming. So welcome again, Angie Tee. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Lori.
Hey, it's totally our pleasure. I want to jump right in because some of my favorite sort of Angie Tee memories are just like this person who just is everywhere, like and like what is going on? Like you were out there kind of in front of a lot of big events. Chosen Few picnic or the festival is one of those. But you're doing a lot with a lot of people. So I want to get into that. But before we do, I want to hear, how you doing?
I'm doing, despite everything with COVID and everything that's going on in the world, I'm doing pretty much okay. I worked through the whole COVID year, 2 jobs.
Guess I had to, with the public?
I work with the city of Chicago, and as I've been there 31 years.
Wow.
And I 3 years ago took a part-time job with Amazon.
What? You're a glutton for punishment on top of all of your ambassador work and your promotional work.
Absolutely.
Every lady I talk to is so busy. Is that something that you would say you've been even busier in this last year or so?
I would say that now we're in a phase right now where you have to try to find out because things are different now. I've been a promoter for quite a long time, and my approach is some great promoters out here. I know a lot of them from Chicago, New York, all over. But my approach has always been hands-on. Like I wanted to give you my flyer, my hand to your hand, so that you can see and ask you, would you please come support me? Mm-hmm. But now, since COVID, everything has went virtual. So anything we do now, I don't get that approach. So now I have to like readjust and, and find out how social media. I have to kind of like watch what I say, try to be neutral because people don't get a chance to meet me up close in person so that I can invite them to the events that I'm affiliated with. So it's a lot different now.
Yeah, so let's talk. I want to hear about little Angie Tee. Did you come to Chicago?
She is from the south side of Chicago, a graduate of Morgan Park High School.
Where'd you grow up? What part of?
In Beverly.
I was in Morgan Park.
Really?
We were neighbors.
Yes, I was. Yep, we bought in Beverly in 1974.
Wow.
So.
Were you one of the first Black families out there? Because that was.
Yeah, it was just a few of us.
Beverly didn't have a lot of Black families there.
They did not, and we had to fight.
So for those of you who are watching, not from Chicago, Beverly is a really affluent neighborhood on the far southwest side of the city, right near the border. And it's a beautiful neighborhood. Tree-lined streets and big houses and nice condos, great restaurants. And Morgan Park is right next to it and sort of bleeds over into Beverly in some parts of the city. But I would love to hear about your story. If you could tell us about moving into that community.
Well, people people wouldn't really understand. And I think I'm real young. And Beverly was very, very Irish.
Okay.
Um, uh,
And you were not
they
Irish.
no, they were not that welcoming. It was like the what do you call it? The flight. They sold
White
their
flight.
homes and
Mhm.
they went to the suburbs, and their neighbors were mad um, because most of them did not know anything about Black people. Now all of a sudden, here is because both of my parents bought a beautiful home in Beverly, and they had three children: my sister, myself, and my little brother.
Mhm.
And I have to say that it was really rough. And see, my father was a U.S. Marine
Mm.
through and through, Semper
Wow.
Fi to the day he died.
Okay.
He was U.S. Marine. So therefore, we were around white people
Mhm.
quite a bit when we would go up to the Marine base with my
Mhm.
dad. So, but we couldn't understand why they were chasing us. I mean, you would have think this was the 50s. They were chasing us with chains, sticks every
Your
day
family?
from school. Yes, yes, they were
Wow.
burning down our garages. They couldn't get ours because we had attached to the house. It wasn't behind the house, and we didn't have
Okay.
an alley. But those in Beverly that had an alley that were Black, they burned their garages down and they burned crosses. They
In
used to
Beverly.
march. Yes, we couldn't.
I, it's hard to believe because Beverly, when I think of Beverly, I think of, I don't know, I think of people who would have more sense than that because it's not a working class community. It's really more of an affluent community. But they weren't.
I'm gonna tell you one story. People always say Black people don't swim because we didn't want to get our hair wet.
Yeah,
But
that's
my
crazy.
my situation was we couldn't cross the tracks to go swim because the white people didn't want us in the water with them.
Hmm.
So that's why I never learned how to swim.
Hmm.
And by the time I got to Morgan Park, the pool wasn't working. So here I am, 55, and I still don't know how to swim but my brother, by the
Hmm.
time my brother, he's 6 years younger than I am, by the time he came up, they were able to, we had already broke the barrier. Like it got so bad in Beverly. People didn't understand when Martin Luther King came on the west side, they were saying in Marquette Park, everybody talked about
Yeah.
Marquette Park.
In
No
60s,
one
yeah.
knew how rough we had it in Beverly.
Wow.
And the city, it got so bad that the city called in the Department of Human Services and got a bunch of us teenagers together, sat us down at one of the neighbors' home. We were outside and they brought in all these therapists. And what we found out was those parents taught their children to hate us, and those and told them we didn't have fathers. Here I am with a U.S. Marine. These kids was like, well, wait a minute, your dad is there? And I'm like, yes, both of my parents is there. So we were able to get it together. They took the parents, they wouldn't let the parents sit with us. And it was
Mm.
probably maybe about 50 or so children in that neighborhood. And from that meeting of those children, those white kids finding out that we were just like them. We had two parents. Um, we had to go to bed at a certain time. We had to eat dinner at the
Right.
table. We
Right.
were we were living just like them. That they had been fed some garbage by their parents because they really didn't want us in the neighborhood. Things began to open up, and I would say that was probably around 79 or maybe 80.
Wow, that took that long for things to just calm down in Beverly. I live down the street. I grew up on 109th and Sangamon, and that is not far. I mean, we went to the Plaza on 95th, and
Mm-hmm.
we went to the Pancake House on Western, and we certainly spent a lot of time because it was just a mile away from my house. But I think that you talk about white flight, and we are in Chicago, and we are no different than many of these other cities where listen, white flight was not because white people decided to move. It was because unscrupulous business folks and doctors and folks who had pulled their money together. I mean, there's lots of books written about this. I just read another article. Decided to take advantage of racial tension,
Mm-hmm.
undersell, to scare white people. They would literally plant folks in these communities to say, look what's going to happen. Your property values are going to dive. And then they would cheat them out of their homes. They buy their homes for 5, 10,000 less than what they're worth, and then oversell them or issue contracts, to Black families to move into the same homes. And so there's a history behind that. So I want folks who are watching, to understand that this is not about people who are born with hatred in their heart. You've been manipulated. You've been manipulated by people who are powerful and want to take advantage of you. So, and then that manipulation changes the culture and changes the way that we think about people. And that creates this us and them. And it's all a construction designed to
Absolutely.
make them into sheep, to follow, to get their money and to have power and control. So that's our our little sociology lesson for the day. But I really appreciate you sharing that story. I think it's not a uniquely Chicago story, but there are many elements of it that Chicagoans can relate to. We moved from Inglewood to Morgan Park in 1969. And by that time, half the white population had gone, but we had some white neighbors, and eventually almost all of them left. A few stuck around, like they weren't intimidated by it. But so you grew up in Morgan Park, and where'd you go to high school? You said you grew up in Beverly, you went to Morgan Park High School. And how did you come into the house music community?
Morgan Park, we were partiers. We
Okay.
started, well, actually, okay, it's almost going to be the end, but I'm going to bring it to the beginning.
Mhm.
So I met a guy named Greg Winfield. He's a DJ.
Oh, I love Greg, of course.
Okay. And I was 12 years old,
Wow.
and neighborhood, lived in the neighborhood. And I thought he was cute.
Greg is
Me and my
adorable.
friend, we wanted to be friends with him. He had these pretty eyes. He had a car with the exhaust, and he played his music loud. I was like, yeah, that's gonna be my friend. So we were supposed to meet him on the corner at 95th and something, and she didn't show up. So he says, "Come on, get in the car." And from that day, he said, "This you're gonna be my little sister." I said, "Okay." So lo and behold, I go over his house, and who's there? His brother, Benny Winfield,
Right. Right.
fashion designer and hero. And so now the whole family, I'm meeting the whole family. So it's like I'm at every party helping him carry his crates. It
Mhm.
wasn't no USB. It was heavy out. And he did all the parties in the Beverly neighborhood. He was like ghetto fabulous.
I
He
love
was
it.
very famous, Greg Winfield, back in the early 80s, late
I
70s.
love it.
Everybody knew he did every party. He was the DJ everywhere on this side of town in Beverly, everywhere, all around. And so, I hanging with him, I learned a lot of music. Because I hung out with him my whole high school days. I
Mhm.
graduated in 84. So every day after school, he would pick me up because he was already out of school. And I knew he wasn't, I thought he was so much older than me. And now that I'm where I am, I'm like, you're really only a year or two older than me. How did you have a car
Right.
and you were out of high school? But I hung out with him. And then I would go to parties like the candy store, the playground,
Mhm.
whatever, Sawyer's, Tiki Room,
Of course.
um, just party, party, party.
Yeah, yeah.
The whole 80s was just every
Working
party.
party.
And so that's how it started. And I'm in high school at Morgan Park, so we're the party girls. Everybody's a club. Everybody had a club.
Yes.
We were the centerfolds.
Okay. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one. Did
We
you?
were the centerfolds,
Yeah,
and
tell us about the
we
centerfolds.
right, and we would go up to Corliss, Julian, and hang with the Jigs or the Suaves at Corliss.
Hmm.
And then they had another girls' club at Corliss, and we would, go back and forth or whatever. And we would dress, whatever it was, prep.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, we called ourselves preppies back then.
yes, we dressed.
Preppies, punks.
So we were the cool girls and
Okay.
guys that went to the parties that our parents let us take the bus down, by ourselves downtown. Sometimes my dad would drive us, or a parent would drive us on Michigan to one of the parties. So we partied, and believe it or not, in 1980 there used to be a place called the Club on 95th and Ashland. It was
Mm,
down the street. Now down the street was for
that
87th
sounds
and
familiar.
Ashland. Huh?
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, the
I'm sure.
club. And actually it was the club and the Copper Box One
I remember that. I
and a
absolutely.
bowling alley. So we used to party at the club.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, we party. And actually another legend who is deceased now, but he was my first boyfriend, and he has music out, Kevin Irving.
Okay. Kevin.
And he was my first boyfriend in like fifth grade.
Oh, sweet.
So I just was surrounded by music back in the early 80s and parties. And if there was a party, I mean, my mother and father I had to do my homework. That's how they tricked me. Homework had to be done, had to get good grades. The only thing was, okay, my parents were a little old fashioned. My dad was fine, but my mom, she couldn't wrap her head because, now all the parties are starting at midnight, 10 o'clock. That's when I should be in. So now I have to
Right.
train them by climbing out of the window,
Did you do
putting
that?
something in my bed to make it seem like I'm there.
No way. No
Climb
way.
down the window to the garage, jump down, throw my bag with my clothes, and jump in the car with my friends and go to the parties.
Did you do that?
I did that.
That's like something out of like a teenage movie.
We did it for real. We did it. We now because now it's 1983, I think, and now you've introduced me to the music box.
Oh
And
yeah.
one
Forget
time
it.
I think it
Forget
was
it.
on 16th Street and 16th Indiana. And now you expect me not to go back to
Right.
that party? Could
Right.
never go to the warehouse because
Close by.
Frederick and Butch, and they knew my age.
Yeah. So they weren't letting you in.
Could not go to 206. I could drive in front of it in the car.
People did that. If we talk about 206, the original warehouse, and listen, there were nights where we just didn't have $5. So we
Mhm.
sat out and we drove up there thinking maybe we could sneak in. Sometimes it worked. And if it didn't, we just sat in the parking lot. Remember, there was a parking lot behind
Mhm.
parking all over the streets. And sometimes we just absorb the energy because you could hear the boom, 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 boom,
Yes.
and we would just
See the lights.
energy.
Yes. It was just so I was more of a music box,
Ronnie Hardy
uh,
girl.
a Ron Hardy, Frankie Knuckles. So you had Ron Hardy Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays,
Mhm.
and then you had Frankie Knuckles on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Did
So
Frankie spin at the music box?
no, I don't remember, but
I don't think he ever did.
I
Yeah.
don't ever remember him spinning. But the one thing that I guess people would have had to been back there is when Robert and Ron Hardy had that marathon,
Hmm.
it started on a Friday. Frankie, just out of respect, he canceled the power plant. We did not have the power plant that Friday. because he respected the marathon. And
Wow.
this is just something that you don't see, where you just arbitrarily like, because even though, Robert and Frankie were partner, they were partners and they went their separate ways, but to just arbitrarily say, I'm a respect this party, this marathon, and we got there on Friday at midnight, and we left the music box Sunday at 12 noon.
No, you didn't. We talk about that a lot. Talk about that experience, because I don't think anybody in the history of this show has brought up that marathon.
Listen, I'm a music box baby, like Robert Williams to this day. I I keep in touch with. I love Robert Williams. It's so funny. When I turned 50, I had a party at my house, and I was looking at Robert Williams, Frederick Dunson, and Judge Maurice. They were all at my 50th birthday party. They also was at my 18th birthday party.
Oh, that is so.
Is that something like? It was so nostalgic.
You've grown up with these people.
Yes,
These are your
yes,
people. It's
yes,
your community. It's your family.
yes. So, the Music Box Marathon. How do you describe it? Well, okay, so we all bought backpacks, change your clothes. We got there.
Angie, do you remember what year this was by chance?
I'm gonna say 84 or 85. So let's say okay. 85. 85. Okay. 85. So 1985. I heard about this marathon. I heard about it. I didn't believe it. So I packed my clothes and told my mom I was going up to my girlfriend's house.
Of course.
Jackie, her name is Jackie Greer. Jackie and Jennifer, I was just graduating from high school. They went to Loyola and they stayed on campus. I don't think Jennifer stayed on campus, but Jackie did.
Okay.
So I was young, and I also left one little small detail out. I took karate my whole life.
Okay.
So I was, like a tomboy. So,
no.
I dressed in clothes that, if I need to fight.
You were in Beverly, but you might have needed to fight once in a while.
Exactly. There was some
you did need to fight. You had some crazy people chasing you from school sometimes.
Right. Yeah, it was. I was my whole high school years. I was in karate, and so I wasn't the best dresser. So I meet these hip chicks. Jennifer was my neighbor. She lived on the other block, and Jackie, was her friend. So I meet these hip chicks. They dressed me, put me in Norma Kamali, because you had to have the pieces.
You had to have the shoulder pads, right?
You had to have the pieces.
Angles and the shoulder pads.
Yes.
I remember the pads. Oh, yeah. That was the year.
Yes. The designers. You were in Jabot. You were in Gasoline. You were in Izod. You were in Ralph Lauren. You were in Giorgio Armani.
Right.
Norma Kamali. So anyway, they dressed me and just hipped me up. Now I'm hip.
It's so good to have girlfriends like that.
Right. And they took me to the parties, and they I watched how they danced, and I learned how to dance like them. And because I came from the preppy, so how we dance. We was crazy.
Whoever you want, you just jack on a tree.
So right, but no, it's a little different than when you dance, and more so. And I don't. One thing I don't remember is I don't remember us calling it house music. Right. We were music box head, but I don't. So I can't really get in that debate of when house came about, because at that time it was not house. So we were listening to, it was disco music.
Yeah, it was disco and a little bit of sort of other things. I mean, Robert was very experimental, as was Frankie.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't call like, yeah, Laurie Anderson disco, for example. They'd play that, or they'd play the Police, or
Mm-hmm.
all
Absolutely.
kinds of
Absolutely.
stuff that was definitely not on the disco thing, but it worked for them and it worked for the crowd.
Hmm. I mean, because some of the remixes, like you could, like if I hear um some no one gets the prize, I'm
Yes,
already thinking, okay, I'm at the power plant, those big windows,
I
oh
love
my
it.
God, and or Sister Sledge,
Yeah,
oh
with
my God, the remix,
Thompson.
or uh Frankie just he's and Ron Hardy, if you hear some James Brown,
Uh-huh.
or if I hear
George Benson. They played all kinds of,
right.
yeah.
And then Ron Hardy, he always ended the party with what's those young ladies' name?
2 Tons of Honey.
Gospel.
Oh, the
Sunshine.
Clark
The
sister.
Clark sisters.
That's right.
So I always tell DJs, now when you play that, did you ask Ron Hardy? Because that was how we ended the music box.
Was it You Got the Sunshine?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's
So we
something
going
else.
home on the and it was all right because we had the super transfer, you
Hmm.
know, had it all night to the next day. So we were fine. But
Did you ever run into any trouble on the bus? I mean, like, people got to these parties in lots of ways. A lot of people carpooled, a lot of people took public transportation, you know, uh, took cabs, all kinds of ways. So you were on public transportation getting to these parties.
yes, because we had to take it all the way to 95th. So the end
Yes,
of the line.
yeah, I know.
We were on there with the church people, at the end of the party.
Wow,
We were on there with the church people.
I
So
love it. And
they
you
were
all
looking at
sweated
us.
out, makeup is
Right,
down there.
exactly. But we were dry because remember we had backpacks with different clothes,
That's right.
especially in the wintertime. Like this vortex, I can remember being 40 below. Oh, we made it to the music box.
Yes, you
We made
did.
it. We
Yeah,
made
no,
it.
weather was never an issue when we were going to the warehouse
No.
box or the power plant. That was not a deterrent. You just figured out how to get there. So listen, I want to jump ahead a little bit and talk about your work as an ambassador and as
Okay.
a promoter. So what made you make that leap from like club goer, to professional club goer? That's what I call myself. I was a professional club goer to like getting into the industry. What happened?
Well, I will say in 1985, 86,
Hmm.
I used to give backyard parties at my mom's house because, of course, all of our backyards were huge in
Right.
Beverly.
Hmm.
And it's some people to this day that still call me Prospect Angie. That is the street I live on, and that was the
Okay.
party. And when we go to Prospect Angie's party,
Love it.
my parties were so big that thank God my sister married a Cook County sheriff because, the Morgan Park Police, the 22nd District,
Uh-huh.
they frowned upon those kind of parties.
I'm sure they
And
did.
we were innovative. Even back then, I would let the neighbors know that it was a block party.
Oh my
Anybody
goodness.
could come.
Yeah.
But I had people like Andre Hatchett
Hmm.
spinning,
Hmm.
Greg Winfield, Hugo H.
Of course.
Hugo Hot Mix and Hutchison back then,
Okay.
Brian Furious Frazier.
Right.
And because I knew so many people, there was just this one party, and people never that was there will never let me forget this one party when Craig Loftus brought Frankie Knuckles to my house.
No way.
Now you on the map. It's kind of like Beyonce
Yes.
or Jay-Z wearing your t-shirt. Like
I love
Prospect
it.
Angie had Frankie Knuckles. Yes, and he came. He had a good time, and that was like 1985 or 86. I think 1986 it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I have been doing parties um, back way back in the 80s, but just strictly at my house. So if we
Hmm.
fast forward to kind of like in the 90s, Ron Hardy passed. early 90s, and Frankie Knuckles went overseas.
Right.
So my, like I didn't transform. I couldn't, if it wasn't the music box and the power plant, it was not a party to me. We were
Mhm.
uppity, snooty. No, the warehouse. Why are y'all calling it the warehouse on Randolph? No, we going
Stop.
there.
Yeah, no, it was not. It was not the warehouse. And I know some people go, I used to spend at the warehouse. No, you spent at the warehouse on Randolph. I know. I was a DJ at the warehouse on Randolph. So there's a big difference.
Snooty.
It was a
We
great
just
party, but it was
we
not the
made
warehouse.
sure that people knew that this so and um just I went elsewhere, I went to the bars,
Yeah.
and so
Different.
someone called me like at the end of the 90s, and they said, I got to take you to this party. I was like, she was a good friend of mine, music box friend,
Mhm.
and a classmate. And she says, you have to go to this party. And it was on Lake Street.
Okay.
And it was the house spot. And I'm
Mhm.
saying, okay, why am I going here? And I could hear the music from outside. Somebody stole Ron Hardy records. I knew those were Ron Hardy mixes. So now I'm like, okay, yeah, I might could come back home now.
Okay.
And
Who was the DJ?
Emmanuel.
DJ, of course. You know, we actually had a residency together. And so I know him, I know his style very well because
Mm-hmm.
we spun together for, I don't know, a year or more at this place in the 90s called Trade and Flavor. I don't know if you
Trading.
got to go there. See, 90s were big for a lot of the gay clubs, where a lot more of those seemed to pop up in the 90s. And Manuel and I and this guy, Vic, we were the DJs there at Trade and Flavor. And I got to know his style pretty well. So I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Very reminiscent of Ronnie.
Because Ron Watkins and Robert was able to get him that Ron Hardy's music. So he knew,
Yeah.
what to play. He listened to it because I don't remember him um, joining us at the music box, but I can't say that I recall, but I said, okay. But by that now they've moved the house spot to 71st. So
Right.
it's south now. So I only got that one time, and then they moved it. And so I just was going around to different parties. Uh, I hadn't been around Andre Hatchett in a long time, and he was a
Mhm.
great friend of mine. And he now they're introducing me to Rhonda Flowers, and she's throwing parties.
Mhm.
And I had a great time at her parties. I had a good time at her parties, but now I'm thinking, wait a minute, I know how to throw parties. I had the best teacher, Robert Williams, and
That's
Gypsy,
right.
his mom. I know how to
Yes.
throw parties. I know what parties are so I called Greg
Uh-huh.
Winfield. I said, Greg, let's find a venue. I need to throw some parties. He's like, yes, yes. Him and Hugo. It's like, yeah, she back. Let's do it.
I love it.
We found one venue. It was like, I think 2004. I think we found a
Mhm.
venue on the south side. And I threw the first party I threw. Um, um, it was a snowstorm.
Mhm.
And I was concerned because we had invested all this money.
Of course.
And I got one phone call from a young lady because I was trying to be strategic, Lori.
Mhm.
Okay, as I circulated the parties, I wanted to know who the dancers were.
Right. That's great.
So those are the people, because they know that they coming, everybody else. So I'll let them in free. Everybody else has to pay.
That's smart. That's really smart.
So it was a snowstorm, and that one dancer, her name is Tabitha. She called me, and she says,
Yeah.
"Are you still having a party?" And I said, "Absolutely. We waiting on the people." She says, "Well, open the door. I promise you." So many people came into this
Really?
party, and I just let them in free. They had to buy their drinks. And I
Yes.
just made an announcement. Listen, if you enjoy yourself, this is where we'll be
Right.
every other Saturday or whatever. And you're going to have to pay after this. But today, it's on me. They were like, okay. So Greg and I was reaching back to everybody. Who can I bring in? Mike Dunn. It's his
Yes.
birthday.
Good, good,
I
good.
was on fire now. And so after that, I moved up to another club. I started doing parties at the Regal
Okay.
Theater in the lobby. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
everybody loved that. The acoustics,
Yeah, yeah.
the decor. I even hired Pevin Ever to come sing.
Really?
Oh, we had
Wow.
some great parties there. And then that was the beginning of my relationship with the one and only Mike Dunn. And he
Mm-hmm.
says, "Hey, your name is going around, and I'm just getting my feet wet again in house music because he had
Right.
been gone." And he says, "I need a manager. I need some help." So we sat down and we wrote goals of what
Nice.
things he wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted to achieve. And I worked hard. Then I graduated to another club that held like 5,000 people. It's called The Club. It was on
Okay.
Cicero, and we went there, and that was it. You have 5,000 and 6,000 people now. Mike
Wow.
Dunn is on the map. He's back. Everybody knowing this is Mike Dunn. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, so because I was able to give him a bigger audience, and he could
Right.
showcase his talent a little bit more quicker. He talent was never the issue. It was
That
just
was
how
right.
do you
Get
get
in
it
front of
out to the
people.
people.
Yeah.
Mike and we had a great run,
Mm-hmm.
all probably about 12 years together.
Wow, that's
We
great.
traveled, we did, oh my God, we did everything. And then, so there was a little situation with Mike where uh it was just the issue. He couldn't get his passport anyway. I
Mm-hmm.
was instrumental in helping him um get his passport. So now
Mm-hmm.
he's international. We have reached the last of the goals. He's back traveling across the seas.
That's
So
right.
now it's
He's
like, what
going
do
to
you do
go to
now?
UK and all these
Right.
places.
What do you do now? I mean, you've written down these goals. I look at it as a business.
Mm-hmm.
Because my bachelor's is in business and my master's is in public administration. So I look at things from a business how strategically. And then so Wayne Williams, they would contract me
Mm-hmm.
to promote Chosen Few, but
Yeah.
also Rhonda and Tony Batoy and Robbie, the promoter from New York. So different people.
Sure.
And just only a few years ago, um, Wayne he just came. I've been knowing Wayne so long, and he just presented me with this idea of that the Chosen Few DJs need an ambassador, somebody that everybody liked, and
Mm-hmm.
no
Mm-hmm.
matter what, they were looking for someone that was neutral. I'm sure that just got along with people and didn't have any issues. So because when you contract promoters, they want if you do something wrong, they blame the Chosen Few DJs.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
So Wayne was like, "Okay, I'm gonna talk to the guys. He'll be our Chosen Few DJ ambassador." I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, what exactly
What
does
does
a
that mean?
Chosen Few
That's what I was
DJ
going to ask you.
ambassador?"
What does that
And they
mean?
didn't give me no job, and I just took the ball and ran with it and
Okay.
went to Greece, Italy, everywhere. It's like Chosen Few ambassador. The Chosen Few are coming, and
So,
I
te-
just
so, so so back up a little bit. So you really did like go and scout places out and set things up. Like, what does an ambassador do?
Well, I'll give you an example. I went to Greece, but the guys didn't go. But I
Mhm.
went to Greece, and I set up so that they always do what they call a party ADE,
Mhm.
Amsterdam dance event in
Yes.
October. So I met all these people from the UK. They
Okay.
already know the Chosen Few.
Right.
So all I need to know that I'm ambassador. Are you going to be there? We're having a party.
Got it.
And so that when at that event came around, all I kept in touch. I still keep in touch with these people from the
Mhm.
UK, so
That's
quite a
great.
few of them. And because it's really hard uh, when you're not from that country
Hmm.
to pack a party. But
Sure. Sure. Sure.
oh, when Amsterdam, the party, we had an issue with the address. Like everything is circular in
Hmm.
Amsterdam,
Hmm.
so they gave us the wrong address, whoever the promoter was on that side. So now I have to reach out to all these people through my phone in Amsterdam, bad Wi-Fi, and get them to find us. And it turned out
Wow.
to be a fantastic party. But they don't ask me to do it. I just take the initiative because that's what an ambassador does.
Yeah,
So they don't have to ask me. Like if we go out, if we go on a trip, I try to bring people.
sure.
There are people with me. We do Canada. Of course, we didn't do it last year, but we've done Canada for the last 2 or 3 years.
That's fantastic.
And people from Chicago, Detroit, New York
Mhm.
would meet us there. And so I think that that's what an ambassador does.
Yeah,
And then when it's chosen few festival time, I try to make sure those, especially those that's coming from places like Australia and the UK, Lori, it's kind of hard how you have 30 or 1,000 or more people there,
yeah,
and you get tired. Like, so
of
what do you,
course.
and listen to all the rumors about Chicago, and I'm glad to showcase and see that yeah, there's some crime, but not we 30 years the chosen few DJs have never had one incident.
Yeah, you're not going to have it
So
here.
that
Knock
was
on wood.
good. And I still keep in touch with them. They can't wait to come back. So
Yeah,
truly it was made up as I went along, but it became
yeah,
easy.
right.
Like I'll do things like we even during COVID when it let up a little bit, the guys were hired to do a party in Detroit.
Hmm.
So my thinking is, okay, when we get there, we're driving. Everybody's gonna be hungry. So I called ahead to a promoter in Detroit. Hey,
Hmm.
can I cash app you some money? So when the guys got there, they had a whole catered, and
Yes.
everybody eats something different. Somebody
Yeah.
can't have bones in the chicken, somebody can't have fried chicken. So I had to know their diets.
Yeah.
And when they got there,
Did you
so
do
that
it
they
yourself?
don't have to worry about
Yeah.
anything when they get there, but playing their music and making all those people happy that showed up and they were able to eat and stuff. So it's seamless because they know that I look at it from a business standpoint, even though I'm passionate about everything, I still look at it from a business standpoint. How would I want to be treated?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, this is fascinating. I really appreciate your time today. And I'm wondering, what do you think? Well, first, let me ask you this. Do you have assistants? Do you do this all on your own? I mean, it sounds like a lot of work.
Okay, when I first started promoting on my own, I'm really like a behind the scenes type
Hmm.
person. I like to see it, and then sometimes they'll make me come out on stage and this Angie Tee. So I used to have friends like Linda Red. She
Yeah.
loves to be popular, the Duchess.
Great. Hey, Linda Red.
So she was my front person for me,
Uh-huh.
where I can do all the business and
Okay.
still have somebody out there that everybody likes and
Right.
promoting my parties. But for the most part, I do it all myself.
Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot. So, what do you find, if anything, what's challenging about what you're doing? What
Right
challenges?
now, it's really challenging
Just
because
this
you have to,
pandemic.
yeah, you have to really be on this computer quite a bit.
Yeah.
And Laura, I sit on the board of a hospital.
Okay. Yes.
Um, I have to do that work.
Yeah.
So it's it's when I don't know how it's gonna be when we open back up. What it's gonna be
Mhm.
a new normal. I know that's for sure.
Absolutely.
I've never been a person to shy away from a challenge. So it's gonna be challenging. I'm up to the challenge, but I think and I'm a hugger if I see people and that, and
Mhm.
I gotta, do the elbow or the
Yeah,
fist
yeah.
bump.
Now you're good. I remember watching you online when you were kind of policing folks a little bit at the drive-in party.
Oh, yeah,
No, you don't have a mask on. You need to go
right.
get at. You ain't 6 feet apart. So I was like, good. That's public health, Angie T. She's
Right,
no, that's
right.
so.
Yep.
So I know we hope to have more outdoor events as they come up this year. So what are you planning for 2021, 22? As
Um, well, I'm hoping that we can get that drive-in concept was really, really
Yeah,
nice.
it was great.
As far as the chosen few, well, oh, that would be, I would love it if we can do it. It's gonna probably be up to Mayor Lifer.
Yeah.
She's gonna make that decision. It's out of their hands. It's not in no one's hands but the mayor's office.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm hoping right now on champion vaccinations. I know
Hmm.
it's a slippery slope because I don't want to force no one if it, who to get something that they strongly believe that they're against it. But I also don't want them to have bad information out there. And you keep saying you want to party and you want to travel, but truly you have to get vaccinated in order for us. The quicker you get vaccinated, the quicker. If you're telling me that you want to party and you want
Hmm.
to be social with people, then clearly getting vaccinated is one clear way um, to getting us back out there quicker.
I 100% agree. So it sounds like you are an advocate for the vaccine.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
was probably one of the first. I received my first vaccination in December.
That's great. That's great. And I haven't received it yet because I'm waiting, trying to wait my turn. And my mom, who's 91, hasn't received hers yet. And she's out here in Will County and she can't get an appointment anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
she,
concerning? It's concerning.
she should be vaccinated. I mean, she
Yes.
clearly was in the first group.
Well, it's the hospital, her doctors, and we won't get into it, but we're trying to make it happen. We think it'll happen soon, but she's hanging in there. As we all are. But I think it's a good PSA to say, I like the way you framed it. If you want to party, if you want to get back, the faster we get ourselves immune, as immune as we can be, just because you're vaccinated, it's not 100% chance, but it's pretty high that you won't get COVID. The sooner we do that, the sooner we get back to normal. So if we want to party, let's take care of our health, right?
Now, sitting on the board that people don't understand, but that lists me as an employee.
Of
So
course,
when
that
they
makes
sent it
sense.
to the hospital as an
Mhm.
employee of the hospital, as their boss, so to
Well, you
speak,
got to go
I
into
was
it.
vaccinated. But we did it because that made me get it in December and January. And what I noticed, I didn't know it was so many people that were so scared. And even Linda Red and some of my closest friends, and they watched me, and I said, well, they were like, please go Facebook Live. And I went Facebook Live so that people could see that I was okay.
Yeah.
And I did it for both shots, second shot. I didn't have any side effects.
Hmm.
Um, not to, but that's not to say that people won't have side effects. I
Right.
just didn't.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of people don't have side effects. I've heard from many people like, no, nothing happened. It just was like getting a flu shot. And some people are sick for a day and then like miraculously get better like instantaneously. So
mhm.
that's kind of the worst that happens is that people might, get like a flu-like symptom, but that's the body responding, to
Exactly. I told them you're better than me when you get side effects and your body fighting it off. It's just saying that your
yeah,
body is resisting. And
right.
and I did talk with medical
Hmm.
professionals, especially at the hospital.
Hmm.
Looked up, the vaccination, that mRNA, which was new, but I just the things that were coming back, they were calling me a test dummy. I was
That's
like
so mean. I've
I
heard all
know,
kinds
so
of
mean.
test dummies
But
and
the
lab rats.
thing
It's
is, I
terrible.
wanted to know what were they thinking. You know some of the things like Tuskegee experiment, and I told them first of all, it's two separate things, and and I didn't even want to get so technical with them, but I just needed people to understand that only Black people in America care about the Tuskegee experiment. This is a worldwide pandemic, and
Right.
no one in the world cared about Tuskegee. They don't even associate it with only people in America, Black people in America. So that
Hmm.
was just one way of someone, sending out a doubt. Some people thought that the mRNA, especially the younger people, um, um, they would be sterile. And I told them to look up the mRNA because it's not a DNA vaccination, so it doesn't stay in your system. It comes out. It
Right.
just carries the protein exactly. Actually, this is probably, I was looking at it, the safest because all it does is tells your immune system to naturally fight it. And I
Right.
tell people, if you look at when people contract COVID-19 and they get seriously ill, one of the things that they use is antibodies,
Right.
somebody else's natural antibodies to cure you. And
Yes.
it's been working.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is the vaccine that you're taking, something that tells your body to naturally fight
Right.
this this coronavirus. So
Yeah.
people, it's just so much so much information out here
Yes.
that's just not true. It's not opinionated. It's just not true. And I don't
Right.
understand why we, especially Black and brown people,
Right.
chose to listen to uh, other people and not the scientists.
You
So
know, back to like power, people who are searching for power. If some, you know, I was reading this book by I think I mentioned this on our last show. It's a really good book. Glennon Doyle, and she there's a chapter in there, and she calls Streams. And in the chapter, she says, you know, if somebody's oppressed, like
mhm,
start looking upstream as to who's responsible for your oppression. And if you and you know, and I believe this, the vaccine denier, all that somebody is intentionally misleading you
mhm,
in it for the people who are misleading you.
exactly.
You need to look at it because they're capturing some information, they're making money, whatever it is, they're getting your attention on their crazy feeds or what have you. Somebody's intentionally misleading you. So it's a form of oppression. So think about it.
Yes.
Who's benefiting from your miseducation? And it's not you. So, all right, second lesson for the day. So we're good.
We're giving out some good
We're good.
advice.
So all right. So as we start to wrap, it's been an hour already. But
Oh wow.
let talk about, you know, I know you love your brothers Wayne Williams, and I mean you've been so sweet, you know, to acknowledge his birthdays this year. I was at your party last year, and um, so generous, so kind, such a beautiful spirit you are. What's next for Angie Tee as a promoter, you know, in Chicago, you know, as it relates to Chosen Few or anything else, you know, that you'd like to share with us? What's next?
I see. Well, I'm coming up 10 months from now. I'll be retired from my full-time city job.
Wow, congratulations.
And and I'm still young enough to do something else, you know. And so now I want to do what I want to do. I don't want to go punch a clock and
Yes.
sit behind a desk. I always like helping people. I don't know if you were privy to an organization that I started, but I had to stop because violence just, I just thought the police could be more, um, they needed to be elsewhere and not protecting us. But we had a group called HELP. It's an acronym for house everywhere, house music or house people
Mm-hmm.
enrich, house house people enriching the lives of people, or house music enriching the lives of people. I think that was the name of it.
Oh, that
And we
sounds
would
great.
go and we would partner with the Chicago Police Department. And believe it or not, I got so many people involved. DJs, they all donated their
Mm-hmm.
equipment because my thinking, along with a friend of mine, was that these kids are, when we were growing up, Lori, we gave our parents a break because we stayed outside until the
Yeah,
street lights came on, and then you better be home by the street lights.
right.
These kids is in the house
In the
all
house.
day, every
I know I
day
have a
because of the
12-year old.
violence.
It's
So we
the
so we
pandemic
partnered,
and violence.
right. So we partnered with the police caps, and I got donations for foods. A lot of
That's
organizations
great.
stepped in, and they DJs, Andre Hatchett, 50 Mills, um, they donated their time. They came in.
Yes.
We played a little bit of their music,
Hmm.
and they, we did the good foot or whatever, the fast foot they did, and then we made them listen to our music. The police interacted. We actually, Fox News Chicago did a good story on us because they thought the concept that we felt like they were suffering from PTSD because they were always in the house and they didn't come
Hmm.
outside, and now they outside. We showed them how to play Chinese jump rope. They play basketball. We had guys to play football with them. We mentored them. We fed them lunch and dinner and sent plates home so that they can feed their other family members. And it was a good concept. It's something that I'm looking at because the Chosen Few DJs, they also have a nonprofit, but it's just, 501c3. I
Hmm.
think that's a good thing because I may try to look, because those guys are so busy.
Yeah. So maybe you
Alan,
could put more
Lawyer that
energy in.
day, DJ that
Yeah.
night, Wayne, Terry, producers,
Yeah.
Mike, they're always in the studio. And when it comes to charity work, which during COVID, Terry Hunter and his Tees box, we fed over 200 seniors.
That's amazing.
We did it twice, and they appreciate it. So I want to give back.
That's great.
So I'm looking forward to maybe moving the Chosen Few their charity work. Maybe
Yeah.
these guys can teach kids,
Sure.
how to run those boards in the studio.
I
But they
think that
need
would.
somebody administratively to do it. They can't do that and make
Yeah.
music and
Yeah.
make their living. And so I'm looking at doing something like that. I also um, was looking at, they say that coronavirus is going to, COVID-19, because it keeps mutating,
Yeah.
may be around here for the next 10 years. Um, there's a shortage of lab technicians. I don't even
Mhm.
think kids that go to Finger, that go to Morgan Park, know that this is a trade.
Yeah. And that's a track for many people. I mean, that we're going to need clinicians.
Yes, and I don't even know if, and they pay good. They don't have to go work at Amazon
Right.
and
Right.
Jewel. Here's a
Right.
job that you can get, so there was a certain things up under their charity work. As far as the music, I I guess I can say it because people always, they say copying someone is a form of flattery.
That's right.
So I don't know if you noticed, but you have to because you are a DJ. And by the way, Lori, you're a legend to me. Let me just say that.
Oh,
I remember you
thank
from
you.
during my days. I think you and Tony Hatchett did a party at
Uh-huh.
either Sawyer's or the Tiki Room. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah. So many I don't remember.
Okay, so that's how far back. Because
Yes.
Tony Hatchett, oh my God, I saw him at Sawyer's. I was like, I'm in love, and then I never saw him again.
I
He left.
know. He left
He said,
us.
when was that? I said, 84. He said, that's when I moved to Texas.
I know. That's where he moved.
So there's an ongoing joke about that, but now they are putting so much music out there. We need to have some listening dance parties.
Yes.
Chicago needs to support
Our
all this
artists.
music and our
Absolutely.
artists. Cherie Hicks, Carla
Carla
Prather,
Prather. Absolutely.
John Pierce. Oh my God, it's just so much, and everybody. Uh,
Right.
their music is selling everywhere, and so some of the parties should, I think, I would love to see, because Mike Dunn and Terry Hunter, oh my God, it's like a race. Louis
Listen.
Vega and Dave Morales, it's like a race. Who can get out the
Yeah.
most songs? Byron Stingley. Let me not forget the real legend
Yes.
here,
Absolutely. Eric,
Byron Stingley.
he's just cranking them out. It's so
So yeah, we can have a
everybody.
party, Lori, and just
Yes.
play Chicago music, and it'd be a hot
I
party.
honestly, I was like, I have to do some mixtapes for people, and I was like, I'm only going to do Chicago music because there's so much that there's no, it's easy for me. I could pick 20 songs just like that all came out in the last like 2 years that are great. So no,
Absolutely.
I would attend that. I love it. Yes, count me in for real.
Yeah, so those are some of the ideas that
Good.
they usually I as the ambassador also, and because I was a promoter already in my own right. So sometimes I promoted under Icy House people, very
Yes,
catchy.
I love it.
So sometimes it would be Icy House people and Chosen Few. I would wear the both of the umbrella just to keep Icy House people because it's a catchy. Of course, you know Mike Dunn,
Yes.
my brother, made a song, and it's my song,
And
Icy
you're
House
in
people. So so it's something. So I wanna and the venues are dried up here. I think it's time that we should start investing in ourselves
We do.
and maybe try to invest in opening our own place.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And we're gonna need some place that we can have space and light and air because this pandemic might be around for a while. So we have to take advantage of the 6 warm months that we have, really give people an opportunity to party safely.
Mhm.
I'm all about that. I know Craig Loftus has talked about, trying to do something similar, and there are other folks who are in the club business. So there'll be plenty to do, I hope.
Mhm.
I don't want to keep you much longer. I just want to say thank you so much. And I think, you are an icon in our community, and people
Thank you.
recognize and support what you're doing. I mean, I just got dizzy listening to how much you do. I don't know how you do it, but God bless you, and good luck with the retirement. And I want to keep in touch. I feel like I was catching some magic coming from you. I'm like, this girl's anointed in some ways. So I got to keep in touch with you. I don't want to. I need some of that to rub off. But
Absolutely. You definitely need to inbox me because it's concerning me that mom is not, and
I
we
will.
need to get mom vaccinated
Taken care of.
immediately.
I'm
Okay.
with you.
So
I will do that.
you need
I
to
will do
reach
that.
out to me.
I shall.
I don't,
All
my
right, my sister.
seniors, they have to.
I
It's
know
no
it's
if,
crazy
ands,
that it's
but I
not
don't need to.
happening. They're like, well, when we get it, we'll bring it over to the house. And I'm just like, okay. Anyway, we'll do better. So listen, Vintage House, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us with our wonderful, beautiful Angie Tee today. We'll be back next week, every Wednesday, 9 o'clock. And stay tuned, switch to Twitch for the Vintage House show to hear some of our brand new talent that we are promoting across the city. So Angie, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori. It's been a
Talk to you
pleasure.
soon. It's been my
Bye-bye.
pleasure.